There are a lot of illegal immigrants here in South Africa who are white people. Many of them are found in Cape Town.
Did you know that white South African farmers are being brutally attacked and robbed of their land, and the mainstream media won't even tell you about it? But guess who will? President Donald J. Trump. He just did what no other world leader has had the courage to do.
South Africa's white population has rejected President Donald Trump's offer to resettle them as refugees in the United States after Pretoria recently enacted the expropriation law. On Friday, February 7th, President Trump signed an executive order cutting U.S. aid to South Africa.
Hello, brothers and sisters. I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you're watching me from now. Elon Musk has been talking about Afrikaners, those who are leaving Africa to the other side of the US seeking for asylum. Now, these Afrikaners are saying that they are running away from racial injustices, land reforms that are meant to take their lands away from them, and a political intolerance that is happening in South Africa. Are these the real issues, or there is something behind the curtain? So let's watch this video, then have a really quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
Did you know that white South African farmers are being brutally attacked and robbed of their land, and the mainstream media won't even tell you about it? But guess who will? President Donald J. Trump. He just did what no other world leader has had the courage to do. He's offering asylum to these persecuted farmers, giving them a chance at life and freedom in the United States. So why does this matter? Because this is about more than just South Africa. It's about standing up against tyranny, against brutal land seizures, and against the globalist media who bury the truth when it doesn't fit their narrative. Trump has the guts to call out the injustice, while the mainstream media stays silent, or worse. They smear him for helping. They call it a conspiracy, but the bloodshed is real. The suffering is real, and Trump is actually doing something about it. This is what leadership looks like: protecting the persecuted, standing against oppression, and exposing the lies of the globalist media machine. If you agree, hit that like, follow and share this video. The truth needs to be heard. Have your say in the comments.
South Africa's white population has rejected President Donald Trump's offer to resettle them as refugees in the United States after Pretoria recently enacted the expropriation law. On Friday, February 7th, President Trump signed an executive order cutting U.S. aid to South Africa.
This video is for white people because they are the ones that are upset and reacting to this comment. Their form of insult is to, or their response to this comment is to call me a 30%er. People, when you are referring to Africans as 30%ers, that is no way an insult. Let me tell you something. If the playing fields was equal and your children went to school and were taught mathematics, physical science, geography in Chivenda, and then go back home and speak English and Afrikaans, those children will not even get 2% pass rate in matric. They would fail so dismally because there is no other race in this world that has to learn all their subjects in another language except for their home language. We are the only race, the African race is the only race that is taught all of these subjects in foreign languages. But we still conquer, we still pass, we still go to the level of PhD graduates in these institutions, in your Oxfords, in your Cambridge, in your Harvards. You will never find a Chinese that can get a PhD in Isixhosa. You cannot insult us and tell us that we are 30%ers and you think you have, if you were put in the same position, you would even get 30%. That is, you can't tell me. And this is why your missionaries knew that the only thing that they can convert, the only book they can convert in our home language, because they know we will master it and will understand it, is the Bible. This is why all pastors in Africa are black, and this is why the majority of Christians are black, because you understood the assignment of converting the Bible into our own language. And I'm telling you, if the mathematics books were converted into isiXhosa or Chivenda, we would be master students in mathematics. We would be the best, most intelligent students, because we are still winning as much as we are under this whole system of being taught in our other languages. And this is why the Bella Bill terrifies you so much, because you know if they stop teaching Afrikaans in the schools and start teaching English, your Afrikaner children would be at a disadvantage. So it's not an insult. It's not an insult at all, okay, my dear, because we know if you were put in the same position, you would not.
Citing the expropriation law, which he says targets the whites in South Africa. In 2023, South Africa received $270 million in funding from the US. A large part of the funds went to healthcare. Official records show the white population in South Africa is 7.2% of the country's 63 million people, and they own over 70% of farmland. South Africa's expropriation law allows government to acquire privately owned land for public use. The landowner may be compensated or not, depending on purpose of acquisition. In his recent executive order, Trump said he would resettle Afrikaners who are victims of unjust racial discrimination in South Africa. Afrikaners are mostly white descendants of early Dutch and French settlers. The South African government, however, says Trump is amplifying misinformation. Under apartheid, 85% of South African land was reserved for whites, who formed 17% of the population at the time. A 78-year-old white pensioner in South Africa's Cape Town recently told Reuters news agency, "Our land has not been taken over by government. The people's lives are continuing normally. So, what are we going to do in the US?" AfriForum, an Afrikaner group led by Kaylee Creel, told Trump that its members would not take up his resettlement offer. Separately, the Solidarity Movement, which represents about 600,000 Afrikaner families and 2 million individuals, said, "We may disagree with the president's party, the African National Congress Party, ANC, but we love our country. Repatriation of Afrikaners as refugees is not a solution for us." Representatives of Orania, an Afrikaner-only town in South Africa, also rejected Trump's offer, saying, "Afrikaners do not want to be refugees. We love and are committed to our homeland." The matter on land reform boiled over on X network on Sunday, February 9th, when billionaire Elon Musk, who was born in Pretoria to South African parents, said opposition politician Julius Malema of the Economic Freedom Fighters Party, EFF, should be sanctioned over past remarks targeting whites in South Africa. According to Tesla CEO Musk, Malema called for genocide against the white population in South Africa. Musk also leads the US government's efficiency team, an advisory body tasked with identifying wastage in government. In response to Musk, Malema's party EFF said the billionaire's wealth has overwhelmed him and made him think of himself as supreme ruler of all nations in the world. Musk's net worth is $400 billion, making him the world's richest person. EFF added that equality in South Africa is rooted in the return of land to African people. Meanwhile, South Africa says it will not be bullied by the US for making sovereign decisions. Trump also cut aid for South Africa after Pretoria filed a case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, where Pretoria accuses US ally Israel of committing genocide against Palestinians.
There's no one who can help us, because this side of the earth is bad for us. You can't even walk in the streets around. At night, during the day, they always rape you or they beat you up. They're swearing at you in the language. They know you don't know the language, but they will come and swear at you. See on the news, shoot the Boer, kill the Boer. What we are like, just living also. We are like human beings, just like them. Just the color in the language is different. But why are they against us? Even black kids were beating my kids up, my 5-year-old. Told them this is not for you anymore. South Africa, it's for ours. Our people, we don't have a life anymore. They will make sure about it.
Have you tried to look into leaving South Africa?
If I can get a chance, I will go. If I can get a better life that side of the seas, I will go. Me and my 2 kids, I need a life to make for them.
A prominent liberal TikToker, she threatened to murder the white South African refugees if they make it here.
Good morning. This is for the South Africans who are going to be entering the United States. This is just a public service announcement. I just wanted to make you aware that the black people who were students during apartheid, we're grandmas and grandpas now, and we have the ear of Gen Z. One more thing, I also want to let you know that our president, he has Secret Service, and you will not. I also want to tell you that black people over here are empowered. I just want to, these are just public service announcements. When you get here, sit your ass down and don't touch nothing. Because you don't have Secret Service. Okay. Now have the day you deserve.
All right, well, glad to see this. If for no other reason than we have finally found one group of migrants, one group of marginalized people that the left does not like. Finally, it's taken decades. We found it. It's white people. Okay, all right, that's fine.
It only took 49 Afrikaners to completely break the internet in South Africa, across the world, and in the United States of America. I personally have not met any of those that have come over as refugees since the 12th of May. But you know what? I do share one commonality with those 49 Afrikaners that have come over from South Africa to America. And that commonality is waking up in a country where you are loved, where you are cherished, and where you are safe. There is a very, very good feeling in a man's heart when you know you can wake up and you don't have burglar bars and alarms surrounding you. You know your children are in bed safely, not murdered or raped. You know that you do not have to live behind a 10-foot fence like you do in South Africa, not to keep wild animals out, but to keep wild people that have been sent by the government to murder and kill you and fearmonger you if you own property. So the land compensation where in South Africa where the government wants to steal land really put us over the boiling point. That's why we're seeing the refugees come to America. And although there were only 49 on the first flight, we can expect thousands more fleeing from a communist pagan state known as South Africa, run by Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC Communist Loving Party. The freedoms of our people are important, and all the people that are coming to America from South Africa will thrive. You will have refugees that will have degrees in engineering. They will be doctors, they will be farmers, they will be nurses, they will be pharmacists, they will be much, much more than your normal refugee, because these are people who are educated, God-fearing Christians who love the Lord, who have been persecuted based on the color of their skin. Now Americans have embraced them and they continue to embrace them. There is a beautiful buzz around America. I'm here in the South and everyone's asking me, are your family coming over? Are your friends coming over? And I say to them, yes, many of them are coming over. My phone is absolutely blown up and I'm just giving some positive news. So go out there, fill in the form of interest that the US Embassy in South Africa has sent you. Fill it in and trust God that He will look after you, because the land of the free is waiting for all those who want to come from South Africa to America and enjoy peace and freedom, something that we have not enjoyed for 31 years in South Africa. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask us on X or Facebook or everywhere you see us. Come on and support the South Africans, as we know this is a huge time and the unknown is something that makes a person very fearful. But do not be afraid, for God is in charge, people.
One of them the other day tweeted that I came to Cape Town for tourism 6 months. Yo, I can't believe I even stayed for more than 12 months. It's so nice. This thing can't hear that he's saying it's illegal in the country, but it doesn't apply to white people. There was never an outrage on Twitter that she doesn't have visa. Had a black person said that, or my brother, the way is so nice here in Hillborough. I didn't even renew my visas. You will go home the following day. Our own people will go hunting for that person. But I looked at that thing of that white lady with interest, and I wanted to see what is going to be the reaction. Nothing.
South Africans are saying only 49 Afrikaner refugees on the first flight to America. Only 49, it's so few. But remember, in 2022, Charlize Theron reported that there were actually only about 44 Afrikaans speakers left in the world, which means they've actually gone up from 44 to 49. They found 5 more. That's an 11% population increase. In just 3 years, the Afrikaner population has exploded. Well done, guys.
South Africa's president just signed the Expropriation Act of 2024 into law last month. This law permits the government of South Africa to seize white people's land without providing any compensation whatsoever. The other day, Trump signed an executive order that reads, quote, "It is the policy of the United States that as long as South Africa continues these unjust and immoral practices that harm our nation, A, the U.S. shall not provide aid or assistance to South Africa, and B, the U.S. shall promote the resettlement of Afrikaner refugees escaping government-sponsored race-based discrimination, including racially discriminatory property confiscation." And this order matters. Over the past decade, we've sent something like $6 billion in assistance to South Africa. And so you have to ask, where exactly are the other leaders of Western democracies who supposedly value human rights? Why aren't they cutting South Africa's funding? And why are we supposed to care so much about Palestinians and Ukrainians, but not about white South Africans? These are not rhetorical questions. They need answers.
Hello, brothers and sisters. I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you are watching me from now. There is something that is happening in Africa and in the southern part of this continent, which needs to be addressed ASAP. Now, you've heard the story of the Afrikaners, or the Boers, who live in South Africa. Now, in quote, the white people who live in South Africa. Now, there has been a problem between them, the government, and their brothers and sisters who are black, and this has escalated so bad in that Donald Trump is intervening and Elon Musk is in the business, and they're all talking on how to get a solution. But we must be honest with ourselves, and we must say the truth as it is. Where did this problem begin from? Where is it heading to? And who are the pioneers of the same? And if we really want to sit down and have a candid discussion on the same matter, then we must have two parts of the story. We must not sideline, or we must not take sides just because of a single story from a given perspective or from a given ideology by someone who thinks this is right and this is wrong. Now, I want to be so neutral on this topic. However much I'm an African, I'm a black person, there is need for us also to realize where the problem is now. The problem in South Africa is largely from the land, and most black people in South Africa do not have land. And this can be traced back in 1930s, 1940s, when the Boers were coming to South Africa and in Africa during the colonization period from back in the 1880s, 1890s to early 1900. Now, a lot of land was taken from the locals, and the white settlers took the land because the government was theirs, and because the colonial government was moving around and trying to make the whole state a white state. Now, there was need to take land and give their people, Then their people had a large tracts of land. Up to date, 76% from the statistics show that 76% of the land in South Africa is owned by the minority individuals in South Africa. And these are the Afrikaners. Now, it also says something. Now, these statistics are not just there as numbers. They go ahead and describe the economy of South Africa as a whole, because this means South Africa has to import food because people have lands but they do not use them, And the same South Africa gets most of its food from the Afrikaners, because they have the land. The locals have no land. So this has been a discussion long from the time of Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, down to Jacob Zuma, and now we have Cyril Ramaphosa. The same discussion has been there, and so many people had a feeling that this should be included in their constitution, that land should be appropriated back fairly to the people. Like, if you have a large tract of land, then they should know how you got this land and how you got around to be owning this land, but you or your grandparent was entirely not from South Africa or is not African. Now, this brought a debate, and it became a global issue now because everyone else was talking about it. Now, the government of South Africa was actually proposing to have a law which will actually give powers to the government to have land that is not in use right now by most of these Afrikaners, so that the government can use it to feed its own people and to settle some of the people who do not have land, who are on the streets, and all these other things, Now, this actually got the world talking, and Donald Trump came in. Now, we have a whole other story, that, just how things happen in Africa and in the world right now. Now, Elon Musk has been involved in this, and he has picked a war with one Julius Malema. And when you pick a war with Julius Malema, he makes it real with you. Now, Julius Malema has never stopped talking about this issue. Now, he has even gone ahead to be so radical, and he has gone ahead and, let me not call him extremist, because that's not the word we use in Africa right now. I think it is good to say he has been so vocal on this issue, and he has been talking, and he has been expressing his feelings on how the land should be appropriated back to the South Africans, and how the land should go back to the government so that the government could settle the landless and all these other things. Now, if we really want to talk about these matters, then we must be so clear and not be biased. One, I feel like Donald Trump is lying to the Afrikaners. Elon Musk is lying to the Afrikaners. Now, if, let's say, 10,000 Afrikaners decided to move from South Africa to the other side, because they are in millions in South Africa right now, if they decided to move from South Africa because they are being given asylum in the other side of the world, in the US, is Donald Trump able to give them land? Is Donald Trump able to manage them? Because we have population in the US that are crying because they live on the streets, because it's not only other parts of the world that people live on the streets. Even people in the US live on the streets. So I feel like Donald Trump is lying to these people. It is a momentum, and when emotions and decisions are made out of a momentum, just because you catch feelings, then out of a moment, because you are angry and all that stuff, then you decide to make your decisions with your emotions. I do not want to say the word, but it is really bad, and you are going to mess up things. I think this is whatever is happening between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They have been taken a ride with the emotions, and they're using the emotions to make to justify whatever they are doing at the moment. These Afrikaners will fly to the US, and they are calling it their trying to escape, I do not know, racial justice. I had something of the sort. It is not racial justice, whatever is happening in South Africa. Let it be so clear to the world that the people of South Africa are only questioning how the minority in that country, are possibly holding the biggest share of their land, and some of them are not even using the land to do anything. The land is just there, and they have the titles and everything, the documents. And I had even crazy stories in some estates in the same country that are like, I heard of a name Orania or something, somewhere where white people are only allowed, like it is a white only estate and all that other things. When you talk about racial justice, what racial justice are you talking about? We must be so careful about these things, because these are the same things that will come to haunt us. The same Afrikaners who are crying out, the same Afrikaners who are holding land that their parents took and killed some of the people in South Africa. Now, it is so fair that the people who originally belong to the country have also a share of whatever is theirs. You just don't take everything from a man, then you just expect them to be there silent, and worship you in a way. And I do not want to say that, but it is so sad. Donald Trump should travel to South Africa and feel it for himself, and he should stop feeding himself with the online stuff. Sometimes journalists lie, yes. Sometimes the TikTok videos lie. Some of these tweets on X lie also, So if we want to save our world, if we want to save the continent of Africa, if Afrikaners feel like they are very unsafe in South Africa, I do not know how they're gonna do it, because the only way, why are they not being given asylum in their own countries in Netherlands? Most of these Afrikaners, the Boers, come from Netherlands, and I do not hear anything the Netherlands trying to give them asylum, because they know that they are holding land, they are owning land that is not originally theirs. And in this case, when we actually sit down and try to look some of the things happening in Africa, it is so crazy that the white settlers came in Africa, took most of the land in Africa, and Africans are not benefiting from whatever is theirs. In some of the countries in Africa, the white people never even left, They were not meant to live, like originally live, but to leave black people and their resources alone. But we still have countries that are still that are still taking care of the colonial masters. They have large tracts of land in those countries. They even have companies. These countries include Kenya, and some of them are in Tanzania. At least Tanzania, they tried to. And when Idi Amin Dada of Uganda came to power, at least Uganda is safe, kind of safe from that. I do not know if the puppet Museveni has had some relationship and recalled them back, but there is need for us as Africans to start actually trying to bring the justice that was taken away from us. If South Africa did not have the political activism that we have had, that is being steered by Julius Malema, then the country will be in a total mess. Sometimes Malema can be so emotional, and some people call him an extremist, and they call him that because he talks and he only says the truth when it matters a lot. In Africa, we are used to saying lies and coercing. We've been coercing ourselves with the lies, in that it is so hard for us to take the truth. We need the truth. Africa needs the truth. We all need to see whatever is happening in South Africa and open our minds and really know that things might happen, right? But we still can take control of everything in our countries. I'm giving a loud shout out to Julius Malema, Cyril Ramaphosa for being so bold after being a puppet for so long, and some of the good leaders who are doing good things in South Africa to make sure that the people of South Africa get justice. I was reading an article that came from South Africa, and I was so shocked. Back in 1997, I think, the exact year. Now, there is this farmer who killed a child for crossing into his farm, and he was never jailed because I think the judicial system by then was so biased, and we should not be seeing such things still happening in Africa right now. It is good that we are waking up, and this is the only time we can do it. Thank you so much.